if I traded it all.
Welcome to the show, everyone. It's Friday. It's beautiful. It's a great day for networking, and that's what we're going to do right here on the air with everybody. As you all know, I made it possible for everybody to talk about themselves on the air. I'm going to go with networking right away with my first two guests. They've been on with me once before. You got to listen up. This is really interesting, and they're going to be on a few more times to kind of educate us all. I have with me Monty Flack. He's with True Wealth Legacy, and he has with him Dr. Dick Dykman. Welcome back to the show. You got to tell everybody a little bit about yourselves and what you do.
Well, thank you. My name is Monty Flack. I'm a former high school teacher, invested in real estate, and when I learned this concept of becoming my own banker and how to really utilize my money, things drastically changed for me. And so now all I do is educate people on how to do this.
Okay, so before we came on, we had this long conversation about how people, how they spend their money and how they save their money, right? What's the difference, Doc?
Well, let's go into how people spend their money when they buy any service or any kind of a product. When you pay for anything, you either use someone else's money or you use your own money. And there is a difference in those two.
Absolutely. What's the difference?
Well, in the first case, if you borrow money from someone else, you're going to have to pay back the money with interest. So no matter what happens, if you borrow money from another institution, from a bank, from a finance company, from a credit union, from your neighbor, from your mom, you're going to have to pay it back, principal and interest. And if you use your own money, your cash, now there is a different scenario. Once you have spent that cash, the money is forever in someone else's hands, and it is forever out of your hands, and you will never, ever be able to earn interest on that money again.
So you recommend...
Monty?
Becoming your own banker, learning how to...
Listen up to this, guys. Here's what we're going to do. First of all, we've got the book that we want you to do as a giveaway. This is pretty interesting. Now, we're going to do that where everyone's going to get entered in to win.
Sure.
It's Becoming Your Own Banker. And it's called Unlock the Infinite Banking Concept, which is really interesting. The last time you came on, I have been reading up about it. It is really, 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 really cool. You have to listen to this. It's by the best-selling author R. Nelson Nash, and we're live on Facebook, so I want to say hi to everybody out there that's watching. Follow us, like us, get involved with all this. This is super. After the show, I'll be sharing this with everybody, and you can keep on sharing it with everybody else you know, too. We're going to open up the lines to the audience and give this book away. Our number here, 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Now, when you work with somebody, okay, do you do a consultation with them? How does it work what it looks like when you work with them?
Well, when we do a one-on-one sitting, typically like to find out some information. What are they doing with their money now? How's it working for them and things like that. And then seeing if they're a good candidate to go with this process. And then once we do that, we show them what infinite banking truly is, and showing them how money works and how they can keep more of their own money.
So, Doc, if you don't mind, I'm going to go off the cuff with you, because when you came on here the first time, you knew I was going to do that, right?
I did, yes.
So I just want to ask you to tell the story of you about, you have a practice. You are a dentist right here in the Valley. Would you please tell the story a little bit about you, because it's really neat.
Absolutely. So I'm an orthodontist, and I still practice. I still see patients 2 days a week. I was 64 when I read the book that you just referenced, and prior to that time, I lived a conventional financial world. I worked hard. I lived within my means. I saved money. I put money into qualified plans. I did all the conventional realities for financial advice, and I discovered this book by chance from a friend, and literally the day that I completed reading it, it took me 2 evenings to read it. I was convinced that, number one, I needed to become my own banker, and number two, after I was in it for just a very short period of time, I decided to begin to educate my colleagues, in particular And really, that's how I met Monty and how I've been able to be privileged to teach a lot of individuals who have become their own banker.
Now keep your face right into that mic so they can all hear you, okay? But let me just say this too. You also utilize your money and how you pay for the things that you do through yourself because you're your own banker, right? Correct. And so here you have this practice that you literally have obviously a huge overhead. Correct. And you pay that through your own self. And you want to tell a little bit about that because that was very incredible.
Absolutely. So the basis of becoming your own banker is that we essentially, for all practical purposes, park our money into specific dividend-paying, participating whole life insurance policies, which means that the money is constantly compounding in a tax-free manner. And when we need money, we turn to the insurance company, borrow the money from the insurance company, use the money for our, in this case, overhead, and then use the practice income to pay back to the insurance company and essentially to our own bank. The reality is that the policy that we own is the banking system. So the banking function depends upon having whole life insurance policies in place, and then we borrow from the insurance company and pay back to the insurance company. But because of our relationship with the insurance company, that is, we are shareholders in the insurance company because of our policies, we are able to recapture all of the cost of the interest and the principal that we spend our money on for anything.
So because you're your own banker, I've been reading this book a little bit too, that when you do this and you're using your own money, you're paying it out, and when you get back money, you pay it back in, so you are constantly flowing and your money's constantly growing.
That's correct.
That's true. And Dr. Dykeman mentioned a whole life policy we utilize as our bank. One thing, it needs to be designed for you. We design it a certain way for banking. But to go on with that, this is a fabulous practice, and yes, we just run money in and out, but we have advanced techniques where we can get into all that.
We're going to talk about that too. I kind of wanted to do this a little tiny bit because I thought that was really neat. Your story too is also really neat because, Monty, you're a teacher. And listen up, you guys out there. I know you're going to kill me for this, but you're a teacher. There's a lot of people out there, teachers that don't make a lot of money, and you needed to, figure things out. And this was another way of doing this. I'm saying this. It is not the norm. Not very many people know about this, and that's why you're here to talk about it, educate the public out there. We've got our lines open here, and everyone's going to get entered in to win the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Unlock the Infinite Banking Concept. It's awesome. It's really neat. Call us here, 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. So people obviously understand the first reality that you borrow money, you got to pay it back with interest, okay? Explain the next one.
Well, with the debtor, you got to understand, most people with that first reality, they borrow money, they pay back principal and interest. They're giving up future earning potential because they're saying now that I can afford to pay this, buy this, and I'm giving up future earnings to buy the product I want now. Therefore, the majority of these debtors don't have savings. And we could go on to that. The second part of this is the saver. But let me ask you this. In today's world, where you're looking at 1/10 of 1% paid in a savings account, how exciting is that? Does that get you up in the morning and say, let me go save some more money? So it's very important where we save. And I'll let Dr. Dykeman expand on that.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk further. Let me explain to you guys really quickly. There are two types of people. There are savers and there's people that spend too much money. You got to listen up to them because this is really different. We'll come back. We're going to talk further. Our number here, 602-277-5369. Call in and get this book. It's really interesting. Welcome back, everyone. We are talking here with Monty Flack and Dr. Dick Dykman, and we have our lines open here. You've got to listen up. This is something that's unconventional. It's not norm, and it's a lot of things that people have never even heard about, and so that's what they're here. They're here to educate you all. We've got our lines open here for everyone to get entered into win Becoming Your Own Banker. It's Unlock the Infinite Banking Concepts. It's by best-selling author R. Nelson Nash. I'm reading it, and it's something I think that everybody should at least take a look at. You might be interested. If it's you or someone that you know, listen up here, guys. Give us a call here at the station. Our number here, 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. And for everybody that's also watching us on Facebook right now, you can call in here for any of these things as well. Okay, so we were talking a little bit about the differences between people that save money and the people that are debtors.
Right, and let me just reiterate something. You said it's not common practice. It is common practice with the wealthy.
There you go.
And that's important to know. The wealthy practices every single day and so forth. I just wanted to clarify that real quick. So getting back to debtors and savers and reiterating what Dr. Dykman said, we have to understand that we finance everything we purchase. We either use someone else's money or we save up money to buy it. When the debtor, he uses the bank's money, he goes into debt, pays it back over a certain amount of time, he amortizes it. In that time, he's going to pay principal and interest back to the institution where he borrowed the money.
And you go bankrupt anyway at the end of it.
Well, the thing is especially with the way the money actually works and how devalued the dollar has become, he is digging a deeper and deeper hole. And if you notice, just in today's world, it used to be common practice to finance a vehicle for 4 years, then it went to 5. It's actually 6, and you can even finance a vehicle for 8 years now. Just think of all that wealth you're transferring to someone else's hands. So,
go ahead.
But that's one thing we have to realize as a debtor. If you can't live within your means, it's very difficult to climb out and start doing this. But we still can help. So.
Well, that was something that we talked about also at the break there before you came on the show, because I had mentioned that there's a lot of people too that had money. Some decent money, even had saved money,
right.
But then they got that through the crash hit, and or they lost their jobs. They've had to go into their money, and so there's a lot of people that are starting over. But you can help people in any area.
Yes, it's easier if they have control of their money. Every financial book I have ever read, rule number 1: pay yourself first. And what's one of my favorite books is The Richest Man in Babylon. Rule number 1, pay yourself first. Rule number 2, seek professional advice. Well, that's what we do. Rule number 3, have your money make you more money. And that's what Becoming Your Own Banker does for you. And that's why that book is one of my favorites.
And I have to tell you, I think that people really should be in charge of their own money. You know, when you put it in the bank, you don't make money, and you don't make money by putting it in the bank anymore at all.
No.
So this is interesting, and I'm reading the book. We've got our lines open here. It's Becoming Your Own Banker. Unlock the Infinite Banking Concept. Our number here, 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. So let me ask you this. Is there any way then that a debtor can become their own banker like this?
Sure.
How do they do it?
Well, first of all, they got to take control of their money. And
stop spending your money so much, you guys.
You can't give up future earnings to buy what you want today all the time. You're just never, ever going to get ahead. And that's the problem in today's world. People can't get ahead, so what do? They work more and more hours. Well, there's complications there also. More taxes and more time away from their family.
Well, go ahead, Doc.
Folks are inclined that as they begin to earn more money, they tend to spend more money. So there's no question that if someone wishes to become their own banker, they must absolutely learn to live within their means. And if that's not possible, if they're not willing to take a look at that, then there's no reason to consider even reading that book, quite frankly. But if they are savers, if they are individuals who have been putting their money aside into qualified plans, or if they consider putting money aside for a rainy day, not unlike advice taught by a lot of financial gurus, then there's no question that Monty and I can help to teach them where they can place their money in such a way that they can constantly obtain compounding growth of the money and at the same time have access to the money without any imposition, without any loss of that compounding growth.
Well, Doctor, I believe too, though. Go ahead.
And that's what's going to be that's what's going to be the sequence of us teaching with this talk show, so that every time that we're on the air, that we can explain going further and further into the process, so that savers can learn how to really accumulate wealth and not just save for a rainy day.
Well, and that's perfect. So I think a lot of people out there, just as I think about the people that in the last, let's say, 10 years, there was a time there that people were spending like crazy.
Yes.
And then the crash hit, and it changed everybody's mindset. And I believe, we had that happen. A lot of people, in the 30s when they had the debt before. But the thing is that I don't think people learn, but I do believe people are now. Do you feel that way? I feel that there's a shift.
Well, yes and no. Prior to the real estate bubble in 2008, savings in America was actually negative, because you can borrow money for everything and doing these exotic loans and so forth. After the bubble burst, it went up to about 7-8%, and now it's back down to around 5%. So people are getting right back into their same old habits.
Stop that. That's terrible.
And that's the thing, is money, to really become very good at becoming your own banker, you need to establish money habits. And just as an individual with your weekly paycheck, whatever it is, you need to establish good money habits. And Dr. Dykman's a prime example of that, with what he does and how he runs everything through his office and recaptures that in his real estate. I use my policies for my real estate endeavors also, and some other things. So because of that, our money's constantly growing. We get to utilize it now. Yeah, I don't want to get into our next segment.
Well, but that's the thing, is that there's people out there, Doctor and Monty, because there's people that need to learn how to take control of their money. That's what this is really all about, firsthand, foremost, the first part of it. Am I correct?
Correct.
Absolutely correct.
Yes, because when you start giving your money away for 401ks and all these other things, you have given up control of your money. Nobody's going to take better care of your money than you are. Mm-hmm. I don't care what situation it is. And ever since I started practicing this, I have more money. I take better care of my money. Therefore, I have more and more money.
Now, and you were a teacher.
I was a teacher living paycheck to paycheck.
And how did you start?
OPM.
Which is?
Other people's money.
Okay.
And we'll get into that more on our next segment, but you have to be able to leverage something to get ahead. Mm-hmm. And that's just what I did. So
out there today, your main goal is to what, Doctor?
To educate individuals who are savers in such a way that they can learn that there is really a opportunity to park money in dividend-paying, participating whole life insurance in such a way that they can have the money constantly compound over their lifetime and still have access to borrowing from the insurance company for their personal and their business needs, and then using their earned income to pay it back to the insurance company, which will inevitably and constantly accumulate the funds back into the banking process via the life insurance policy. It's really a remarkable reality.
And you've been doing this how long?
I started in June of 2006, and I started with 3 policies, and I'm currently at 31 policies, strictly within my family. It has been an incredible process.
And
for
how
me.
about you, Monty?
I have 5, and I'm just starting my 6th.
So
right
you
now.
see, it's very different, but you know what? You said it before. The rich have been doing this for a very long time.
Very long time.
The number one thing is you have to become a saver. Okay? So is there any, real quickly, is there any, are there any other types of spenders other than savers or debtors?
There are wealth accumulators, and we are going to handle that in future talk shows.
So you
Because-
see, go ahead.
Yeah, because the wealth accumulator is a saver who has learned how to put his money in the proper location so that no matter what he buys, his money is constantly working for him without interruption.
I'm going to let you call throughout the rest of the show for the book. It's Becoming Your Own Banker. Unlock the infinite banking concept. I've got it. 602-277-5369.